Hey deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey watching Colt and Larissa and Jess and Eric on 90 Day Fiancé. Let's get to the show.
Last night, Jess and I had a huge fight all over Vanessa babysitting the cats. She told me that she's gonna go X, and then she left.
You did not have a fight because Vanessa was babysitting the cats. You had a fight because you lied to her and she was hurt.
2 or 3 a.m., I heard a pounding at the door, and it was Jess, and some man was with her. I heard yelling. After Jess got into the room, she was screaming and yelling about Vanessa and everything, and she wouldn't stop. I just needed to get away from her.
So wait, what? So they had the fight, and we saw all that on the camera, and then he went to bed, and then early in the morning, while he was sleeping, Jess comes to the door with the security guard from the hotel. They come into the room. I'm wondering what the story was there.
My mother and I are leaving Brazil today, and I have to talk to Jess and see where our relationship is, even if we have one. You want to talk about last night?
Yes, please.
All right, first off, don't stand over her like you're trying to overpower her. Like, sit down, dude. If anything, get below her. I assume he's going to sit down, and he's not just going to stand there looming over her like that. So,
Why you lying all the time?
Why'd you throw shoes at me?
okay, you got a rare eye roll out of me on that one. I try to not do that because it's not respectful and it's childish to do that, but I did. It's just hard to watch. It's like she starts off calm, but asking not the best opener to a conflict, but to the point, why do you lie to me all the time? Pretty easy response there of like, you know what, you're right, I lied, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied, it was my fault. Let's actually review all the different elements of an effective apology. Let's look at that. So I've talked about this before, but it's worth reviewing here, and we can see how many of these elements Colt addresses. So according to Kirchhoff and colleagues' 2009 research, they did a comprehensive review of 39 different studies, and they found that there were 10 different basic elements of effective apologies, meaning that when you do it this way, people on the other, receiving the apology, it usually helps them to heal and to move forward. So number one is a statement of apology. So, you say, I apologize or I'm sorry, which he tried to do last night, kind of, but he didn't elaborate on it, certainly as it said it in this moment. Number two is naming the offense, what you did wrong. So for Colt, it would be, I'm sorry for lying to you. Number three is taking responsibility for the offense, meaning that you don't blame it on other people and you're very clear that I lied and it was my fault. So instead of saying something like, I lied because you're so angry all the time, that's not taking responsibility. Four is you attempt to explain the offense, but you don't excuse. Explain, people have a hard time differentiating between excusing your bad behavior as opposed to explaining. Excusing this behavior would be something like, well, I lied to you, I'm sorry I lied to you, but I was only lying to you because you flip out so much and that you're so jealous. Explaining the behavior would be something like, I'm sorry for lying to you, and it was totally my fault, and I'm the only one to blame, and I did it because I have a problem with anxiety in relationships, and I was so terrified of having an honest conversation with you about the fact that I really wanted to have my friend Vanessa, and that you shouldn't be threatened by her. I was so afraid of having that conversation with you that I lied instead. All right, so that explanation helps the other person to say, oh, okay, I can see why you did it, and I don't approve of that, but at least I understand how you got to that decision. Number five is conveying an emotion of shame or remorse. So you want to say, I'm sorry for lying. It's my fault. I did it because I have a problem with anxiety and I feel terrible. Number six is addressing the emotion or the damage to the other person. So you say, and I totally get why you were hurt and I totally get why you were really upset. I also get why you're upset because it's taken me this long to really apologize to you. So I get it. Number 7 is admitting fault, meaning that you say it's your fault. Number 8 is that you promise forbearance, meaning that you say something along the lines of, I am going to go to therapy to address my anxiety so that I won't need to lie, or I won't have the impulse to lie in the future. Or I'm going to try harder to be honest with you, even if I'm afraid of the conversation. It's better to have the conversation than to lie to you. I'm going to try to do that. So that's promising that you have a plan to not have it happen again. People on the show never do that, or they edit it out or something. When you apologize, you have to have a plan. If you're truly sorry, you must have a plan in place that you've thought about that is a good, or at least a believable plan that is likely to work, or it could work, to make sure you don't do it again. Because if you did it in the past, unless you have a plan to change, you're going to do it again. Number 9 is offering reparation, meaning that, can I make it up to you somehow? Maybe, do you want to look at all my texts with Vanessa to reassure you that there's nothing going on with us? Do you want to talk to Vanessa? Is there something I can do to make it up to you? Number 10 is requesting acceptance of the apology. So you say, at the end of the whole thing, you say, can you accept my apology? Those 10 elements are likely to result in effectiveness, meaning that the other person accepts it and feels better, and you are likely to not do the same thing in the future because you've thought it all out. You thought, why did I do that? Oh, okay, now I know what to address. Here's my plan for the future. And boy, do I feel bad. I don't want to feel this way again. Like, when you do that whole thing, then you're less likely to do the thing again. So let's see if Colt addresses all 10 of those elements of effective apology. He's gone in the opposite direction already. She says, why do you lie all the time? And he said, what did he say? He said something accusatory to her. I think something like, why do you freak out?
You want to talk about last night?
Yes, please. Why you lie all the time?
Why'd you throw shoes at me?
Because, Colt, you lie all the time. Need to control.
I need to control?
No, don't have.
Okay, so, Colt, you have a legitimate beef with her for throwing things at him and being violent with him. It wasn't terribly violent, but let's just say that any violence is just not okay. And you can say that. You can be like, I need to establish that we need to not do that, and I would like an apology for the fact that you threw things at me. That's crossing a line. If I did that to you, that would be awful, right? So let's just not do that to each other. Okay, fine. You can address that, but address your problem first. Put that to rest, and maybe that'll take a week. And then at the end of that, you're like, okay, now that that's behind us, can we talk about the shoe thing? They do this on the show all the time, and they do it in life all the time, is, accusation, opportunity for apology, instead of apology, accusation back, escalation, problems, breaking up.
You tell me you're going to go X?
I say because you lie for me about Vanessa.
Colt, please sit down. This is a very ungood look. Like, you're getting aggressive in your language and you're looming over her. Is there no chair in the room? Sit down on the bed. Sit on the other side. Sit around the corner. I don't know. Anywhere. Sit on the floor.
And I'm really angry.
That makes you feel better?
Yes, I just talk about sex, my ex, for you jealous. But I come back here. I know you sleep with other men. I respect you.
You respect me because you throw shoes at me?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now she's in a position where she's defending herself only. That's the whole gestalt of this scenario, is she's wrong and she needs to defend herself, and he's getting aggressive with her in tone and in body stance. Yikes. It's a 3 on the yikes scale.
Yeah, I respect you.
Jess, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I try really hard.
I try. You crazy. Uh-huh.
Remember the 10 elements of the apology? I'm sorry for lying. It's my fault. I did it because I have problems. I know why you'd be hurt. Please accept my apology. I could understand why you're upset, Here's how I'm going to try to change things. We haven't seen anything yet. It's interesting because away from the camera, he says, you know what? I'm sorry for lying to her. That's why she's upset. And then he goes into the room and all that goes out the window.
You crazy, Colt. Always you. Oh, I good boy. I good person. But you crazy. Colt always writes. I write. And he think you're right about lying. And for me, no. I don't like it.
Look, I didn't tell you about Vanessa because honestly, she's just a friend. Met her before you. That's it.
Yikes. Wow. So it's her fault that you lied to her. Ugh.
If I wanted to have a relationship with Vanessa, I would have done it before I met you. Why would I travel to Brazil? Why would I travel to Chicago just to see you, just to be with you?
So it's lecture mansplain times.
I love you. I asked your father for permission to marry you.
So you say my dad do want to marry, but you lie. You need to stop. Yes.
Okay, so we've seen this with other couples where the American, when they're in a bind and they're losing their partner who's not from the United States, they will drop that line of, I was going to ask you to marry me. Kind of implying that, look, if you step into line and you comply and you do everything I say and you warm up to me, then I got a green card for you. I can get you into America. I don't know if that's what he's saying. We saw Ed and Rose. Ed, I can't remember exactly the way he said it, but it was something along those lines that intimated that on some level. And now Colt is seemingly maybe doing that. I don't know. I'd have to ask him, and I'd have to ask Jess how she was receiving that. And then at the same time, Jess seems to be responding kind of, so let's watch.
Vanessa, the cats in house. I understand you don't like, but she's friend my mom too.
You got mad when she just called me on the phone. It's like, I don't know what to do with you.
Can you please sit down? Just sit. Do you have something wrong that you can't sit? Why do you have to loom over in a conversation like this? Hey, deserving listeners, as you know, I'm constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. One of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp.com. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to BetterHelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the /Kirk because you get 10% off your first month and it helps us out. I get a lot of emails from you saying that you're looking for a therapist. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, but I know it can be really hard to find a good one to work with. Like I said, one of the options available to try is BetterHelp.com/Kirk. And you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide, which is amazing. I've been told that you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message with your counselor anytime. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And I've been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy. So go to BetterHelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month of therapy today.
I have to go back to America today. I'm leaving. What do you want? And this is it? You want to break up? Vanessa's a friend. She's a good friend. Yes. I'm not having sex with her. I'm not in a relationship with her.
Yeah, because I think I better my face, my bond, my sex better.
I mean, I can't believe I'm getting 2 thumbs up for him sitting down, but I was celebrating. It was good to see. Okay, fine, just sit down.
Ran away. And honestly, that was a lot like Larissa. The same happened. And honestly, I don't know, is that just a Brazilian thing?
I'm sorry about last night because I really crazy, no control. I understand. But normal, I control. I talk.
Great. She apologized. So now Colt You apologize. Let's see.
I don't want the same thing to happen between Larissa and I to happen to you and I. I love you.
You love me, you need a new mind, and you need to listen me. You need to talk me. I, your girlfriend. Relacionamento between two people. Two. No need opinion. More people.
You're right. I shouldn't share the details of my life. I haven't told my mother what happened last night. I kept that hidden from her. I don't want to tell her.
Colt, you need to understand. You need me and you. No need opinion, your mom. You're a man. You have 35 years.
Okay, once again, she's focusing on Debbie. I don't think Debbie is the majority of the thing that needs to change here. The majority of the thing that needs to change here is how Colt deals with his relationship anxiety. Instead of lying, instead of looming over, instead of mansplaining and arrogant paternalism, getting in touch with his vulnerability and being vulnerable is the key. I've worked with men like him before, I think. I always have to say I'm speculating because I really have no idea. I would have to talk with Colt and find out, but I'm guessing, total speculation, that vulnerability is the road to happiness for him. It's a very scary road at first for him, but it would probably be the road to happiness. I don't know. It frequently is the road to happiness for anyone. But anyway, so she's focusing on Debbie. She wants to say, look, you need to be your own man, and you need to not be influenced by Debbie. All right, you could make an argument that that is a worthy request. That would help their relationship. But I don't think that's by any means the only thing that needs to be addressed.
Please, try your life. No baby boy more. Please, please.
I understand. But I still care about her, and I still love her. And when I look at her, I still see the nerdy little girl that likes cats. And hopefully, after everything, we can just say we're even and trying to move on with our lives.
So, yeah, that's a frequent perspective that people will have. It's like, well, we both did terrible things, we're even. Usually, that's not a recipe for success because you have all the resentments that are still there. You have all the hurt and the fears that are still there. You have all the personality traits that have remained unchanged. You have the patterns that are probably going to repeat themselves in the future. I get it. It's trying to look for something positive in a bunch of negativity, but what I would wish that people would do is just go to couples therapy. As I always say, if you break your arm, you don't wander around the house going like, ow, my arm hurts, I wonder why. You go to the physician. You shouldn't be in a relationship that has this level of conflict and go like, I don't know what to do. Go to a professional. Find a professional. There are professionals that will help you with that. Colt and Larissa went to one session of sex therapy, and I was celebrating. But then I was worried that they would only go to one session, which I think they did. Same with Darcy, one session. It's like one session does not a therapy make. The kind of prognosis that if these two came to me, I would say this is going to be probably 2 years of weekly sessions, another 3 years of every other week sessions, and then maybe 10 years of monthly sessions. Now, people don't usually ask me those questions, how many sessions do you think we need? But if they did ask, that's what I would estimate, because that's usually what it takes. Because in couples therapy, not only are you working on how they communicate and how they get along, but you're also addressing all their past relational traumas individually. And until you heal from their past relational traumas and you take care of each other in couples therapy, and you learn how your past relational traumas affect your triggering and your distancing or aggression and hostility towards the other person, then it's hard to get anywhere. And so couples therapy takes a long time. The couples that I work with for years. Eventually we get to that zone where we're meeting once a month. And there's a lot of work to do in couples therapy. There's never a boring moment in couples therapy. There's always something to talk about. So I just wish they'd go to couples therapy. But I suppose this would be a different show if they went to couples therapy, but it's just hard to watch. Anyway, let's continue watching.
My mother and I have to get to the airport. Do you want to come with us? Say goodbye? Or do you want to say goodbye here?
I go with you, say goodbye.
Okay.
I regret because last night's so bad. I don't know Colt changed, but I give more one chance for Colt.
Yeah, you're like, well, I don't think he's changed, but I'm gonna give him one more chance. Why? If there's no evidence, correct me if I'm wrong, but he never apologized to her. During a fight outside when she was getting the Uber, he said, "I'm sorry." He was sort of yelling at her, but that's all he said. That's the only part of the apology he said. In this whole conversation, he never apologized. He was able to say that he should apologize when she was away, but what is it about her being in the room? So if I was to hypothesize, and I've seen this before, and the internet would like to think, oh, he's a psychopath, he's a malignant narcissist, whatever catchphrase people on the internet use these days. But what I've seen, even if those are true, what I've seen is that people, when they're mistreated and they have tremendous anxiety relationally, that it's so hard for them to be vulnerable in general. And to apologize is to be vulnerable. There's this weird, bad thinking process that says, well, I feel like I should apologize. But if I apologize, then I'm admitting I did something wrong. If I admit I did something wrong, then this person will have a reason to leave me. And then they will leave me. And I don't want them to leave me. So I better not admit I did anything wrong, because then they'll just believe. I can just trick them into believing I'm perfect, which will keep them close to me. And I shouldn't apologize, because that'll be admitting something's wrong with me. So I'll just accuse them of things, or I'll just act aloof or something like that. It generates from tremendous anxiety and from mistreatment growing up, where you were demonstrated that you couldn't really trust relationships that well. And then you come across to people like you don't care, like you don't have empathy, like you don't have remorse. Now, there are psychopaths in the world who actually don't have empathy and don't have remorse. But most people aren't like that. Most people can come across like they don't have empathy. Some people can look like they don't have empathy. Some people can have impaired empathy. Some people can seem like they don't care about your feelings, but deep down they do, or at least they have some elementary understanding of other people and do have an elementary understanding of caring about other people. I don't know about Colt, but those would be hypotheses that I would explore. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I react to this show. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.